What is going on, Pats Nation? You guys already know who it is. Patriots Global back here with another video. Guys, as always, I will be your host, Colby Cochran, here for Patriots Global. Per usual, it's nobody different. It's always me, and we're back with another one. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for being here. This was kind of a last-minute live stream. I posted about it with like less than an hour, and we already have about like 18, 20 people already in the chat. We already have a super chat, a donation already in the chat before even starting, guys. We are already here, okay? Today, we are going to be breaking down the New England Patriots OTAs. This is the first week of Patriots OTAs. And really, guys, this is the first step back to football. Welcome to the offseason, my friends. Football is right around the corner. This is where it starts. Rookie minicamp just wrapped up. We pretty much got absolutely nothing from that per usual. But now's OTAs. A couple days will be open to the media. I'll have you guys covered for everything involving media-related news involving the team. I'll have you guys covered for recaps of the days that we get for OTAs that are open, of course, to the media. Next up, I will also have you guys covered for minicamp, which will be mandatory. I believe it's 3 days. 3-day mandatory minicamp or 4-day mandatory minicamp. I'll have you guys covered for that. A couple more OTAs. And then after that, guys, we are in training camp. Football is back. Football is here. And I have you guys covered for everything. So make sure you guys do hit that subscribe button so that you are notified whenever I do go live or whenever I do post videos, because now is the time where you're getting news involving the Patriots. But like I said, rumors and OTAs are going to be kind of the main talk today. But this is mostly about you guys today, right? There's not a lot going around just football in general, especially the Patriots. So you guys are going to be asking us questions, okay? I'm going to have my Patreon members come on here. They're going to be joining me. So you guys get not just my opinion, but you get a couple of different opinions, which I always like to do. So like always, if you want to come on the channel, if you would like to, let's say, become a Patreon member, like you are going to see some of the fellas on here in just a couple of minutes, then become a Patreon member. Like always, that link is in the description box below. It's the first link in the description box below. It's always great way to support the channel. You get to come on here during the live streams and some other benefits. Only $10 a month. Great way to support the channel. And again, get some more out of it. Cement yourself within the Patriots Global family and the Patriots Global channel. But without further ado, before I bring on these Patreon members, real quick, I have to get to the donation here because I'm probably going to butcher this name. Shamari. Actually, I didn't think I butchered that at all. I think I actually got that. Shamari had a $5 super chat before we even started today. Shamari, first off, thank you for being here. Thank you for being exactly here at the start time. And thank you for going that extra mile to supporting the channel. That $5 donation you guys contributing and giving back to the channel means so much. And it goes such a long way. Becoming a Patreon member or donating goes more of a long way that I could ever find the words to actually express to you guys. But you said outside of DeAndre Hopkins, who is a wide receiver that I want the Patriots to trade for, my pick is Mike Evans. I would like Mike Evans too. I think that Mike Evans makes a lot of sense for the Patriots as kind of a boundary wide receiver, a guy that has always produced 1,000 yards, no matter who the head coach was, no matter who the offensive coordinator was, no matter who the quarterback was. I think Mike Evans is always a great option. I just don't know if they're going to look to part ways with him. I think they should, but Todd Bowles being that head coach, you really never know. And Todd Bowles is a great defensive-minded coach. He's not a good head coach, so he could always slip up. But at the same time, I think the smart move is to trade one of your pieces, whether it's Godwin or Evans. But again, Todd Bowles is the head coach, so because it's a smart move, he probably won't do just that. A name that I would watch would be somebody like Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow is being talked about as a name that potentially isn't going to make the final roster there for the Raiders. When Josh McDaniels actually got to Las Vegas, I was hearing rumors that Hunter Renfrow could be on the outside looking in. Now with Jacoby Myers there, it could be even more evident that Hunter Renfrow could be on the outside looking in. Whether it's a trade or whether it's a release, it looks like he could be a guy that ends up getting cut and being a surprise cut here for Vegas before the start of the season, maybe for roster cutdowns. We do see some trades around this time, so maybe that's a guy the Patriots want. Juju's a guy that has a lot of inside-outside versatility. Now, you do have guys like Demario Douglas and Kayshon Boutte, who maybe are a little bit more inside guys than outside guys, but Hunter Renfrow would come in and I think be an excellent slot receiver for the Patriots. But if Renfrow does come in, then that likely pushes a guy out like Demario Douglas from actually being your next slot receiver and actually making a roster spot. But big shout out to Shamari for that $5 donation. Really, really, really means a lot. But let me bring on my Patreon members. Let's bring them on in, and let's see what they got to say. Now, before I do that, let me actually bring this off so that we can bring them in, and it doesn't look all right. What is going on? We got Neil Wright and we got Software Dragon. You guys have seen them before. Longtime Patreon members, longtime supporters. Got the fellas back for this one. Guys, real quick, before we continue this, can you hear the AC in the background? Like, should I turn that off? Do you hear that annoying sound?
You're good, bro.
You're good.
Right, perfect. I'm actually so surprised because it's right there. But guys, first and foremost, I want to get your thoughts on that super chat question. They thought Mike Evans was their favorite go-to potential trade for the Patriots. Now, DeAndre Hopkins, interestingly enough, was actually on a radio show, and he actually said, the Patriots were one of the teams that were interested and one of the teams that were actually in on me. Now, ultimately, I don't think DeAndre Hopkins comes to the Patriots. I don't think that happens. I think that's kind of out at this point. But is there another receiver that you could see the Patriots realistically trading for before the start of the season, or maybe just at the trade deadline?
I'll be honest with you, bro. It's no more. I think they got what they wanted, PG. Mm-hmm. Look, man, we're the Patriots. We're not the Steelers. We're not the Eagles. We're not KC, right? We will push our bounds now a little more than we have for the past years, I would say, when it comes to paying more to a receiver, getting a little more better receiver, say, right? But in terms of how long time has passed by since those rumors of what's going on back and forth, it's over, man. If it happened, it would have happened by now. But I think we've added all the things that we needed. Plus, we have some receivers that we haven't even tested out. So I think in terms of that, we've got all we need. We've got the tight ends that we need. I don't think they're looking at more. We added another goddamn running back like we don't every season. So I don't know, PG. From my thoughts, I think they're done, bro. I just don't see him touching any more receivers.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Software? Is there anybody that you think, or are you kind of just like, nah, I'm like Neil, I'm out. I just don't think there's anybody that they will end up trading for?
I gotta be with Neil on this one because honestly, I think we're going to see maybe the more of the swing, moves coming in around trade time, like around roster cut downs. Like this is the time of year where I just think that the Patriots, they just want to stay put with what they have, and you want to bring in a guy that's via trade. Honestly, I'd say look to free agency or some sort of undrafted free agency, because you want to bring in a guy to go ahead and learn the system all over again when you already have DeMario Douglas and Keyshawn Botte already having more experience than you do. I don't know, man. I think it would be a nice thing to find another weapon, but just knowing the Patriots and their history, they made so many dead gum moves around the trade deadline, and I just want to say, just bringing Mike Evans in, I would say it's a long shot at this point because, man, his contract, dude, it's almost going to eat up all of our cap space in the future, and I just think that the Patriots want to have some more money in the season and for the future. So I say Mike Evans is out for me, but he would be a good consistent wide receiver in my opinion. And he might be a really good weapon from Matt Jones. But yeah, I think that's my opinion on him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. At the end of the day, do I think they're going to trade for a wide receiver? No, unless somebody gets injured. If a Juju gets injured or something like that, then okay. Then I think we're talking about a realistic possibility that they go out and they try to get someone, which, knock on wood, that doesn't happen, because I think that just hurts the Patriots more than it does overall help them. But I think that they're confident with what they have. I think that they like some of the potential that they have here with maybe some of the guys that they drafted and some of these younger players overall. So I think right now it's more unlikely, unless someone does get injured or unless something surprising comes out. I think if they're going to add a bigger name, they're going to add a veteran. I think at this point you're looking for somebody who gets surprisingly released, whether that's at roster cutdowns, whether that's shockingly throughout the offseason. Then maybe it's somebody that they look into. They always bring in a veteran or two throughout training camp. So it wouldn't surprise me, but I think that's what you're kind of leaning towards more than trading for a premier wide receiver. But we do have another donation here that I do want to get to. So Trey Rules with a $10 donation coming in hot says, depending on if we keep 5 or 6 receivers, who do you think we would part ways with by cutting or trading. Personally, I'd be fine with any of them except KB or Demario Douglas. So that's a great question. And I am hearing rumblings that the Patriots could potentially be moving on from one of these wide receivers, right? And I want to start off by saying it's not going to be one of the rookies, right? One of the rookies could get cut, but they have to perform exceptionally bad. Like if they're not showing any promise, they're not showing real NFL caliber talent, then the Patriots will release them. And at that point, we shouldn't be upset because they're likely going to be nothing. The Patriots will at least keep those guys for a couple of years before releasing them. If they release them straight off the bat, that just showcases that there is absolutely nothing in terms of the future with those guys. But ultimately, I do think that there is something there, and I think they will end up keeping both of those guys. So I think at that point, you're looking at a veteran, and I think you're probably looking at a trade because whether it's Devontae Parker or Kendrick Bourne, two names that I'm hearing could be on the outside looking in if the Patriots are looking to shrink down this receiver core, right? I think personally it would be KB. And I hate to say it because I love Kendrick Bourne. He's my favorite Patriots player. I think he has so much promise. It would be such a mistake to let him go, especially after letting go of Jacoby Myers, right? We let go of Jacoby Myers. That was Mac Jones' number one guy. Right now, Mac needs that go-to guy, a guy that he can trust. And right now, that only guy essentially behind Hunter Henry is really Kendrick Bourne. And Kendrick Bourne's the only wide receiver the Patriots have that has that trust with Mag and can be that go-to guy. So I don't think it's smart, but I think that you look at what the Patriots have receiver-wise, right? You can replace KB. You can't replace Devontae Parker. And the reason I say that is because the Patriots don't have a tall 6-foot wide receiver on the outside that can just run a go route and catch 50-50 balls. I mean, I remember Devontae Parker said it's not even 50-50. It's like 80-20. And he proved that. He proved that this past year. That it's not 50-50.
It is 80-20. Yeah. It's 80-20.
Exactly. And I think, too, that you look at Devontae Parker and you look at the role that he played. We missed him significantly when he got injured. Unfortunately for the Patriots, they do not have a receiver to back up Devontae Parker. They do not have a guy that if you trade him can fill in that role. Unfortunately with KB, you have a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster who could fill that role. You have a guy like Kayshon Boutte or Demario Douglas, if they pan out, that they could also fill in that role. So I think honestly, it ultimately comes down to health, but it also comes down to how these rookies ultimately perform. If Kayshon Boutte or Demario Douglas or even both of those guys show that there's promise for them to actually get playing time year one, then you're probably looking at trading one of your veterans. But if it looks like they're not ready or one of them gets cut before roster cutdowns even happens, then I think you should feel pretty confident that one of your veterans ultimately does not get cut. So what are your guys' thoughts here? I've heard rumblings about this exact same thing. If there is a receiver on the outside looking in for the Patriots, who is that receiver going to be?
Bro, I think it's. I'm sorry to say this, KB. I'm with you, Kobe. Like it's gonna be KB, and it's not just the fact that you could replace him. You could replace him with a couple of receivers for sure if they pan out for us. But it's the fact that he got great value too. We're gonna get something out of him. Pretty nice. It hurts, but he's disposable more than Parker is.
Yeah.
That's a sad part because we got enough talent that we could pay a lot less and develop them, and they could become the next or close to KB, which is enough for us, especially with the talent we got with the other receivers and tight ends. Parker, it's hard for Patriots to even get a receiver like that, a wideout like that. Like it's rare for us to get somebody like that.
Yeah, they've been looking for him, right? They've been looking for that guy. They've been looking. Yeah, that was supposed to be N'Keal Harry. They've been waiting for that guy. Really, it was Josh Gordon was the closest thing we've had since, or I should say, Devontae Parker is the closest thing we've had since a Josh Gordon.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree with that.
And he has so much gaps because we had Cooks, we had Moss, but we rarely have that. What everyone else just gets at, but it's like when you finally have that, it's like a really rare diamond or a ruby that you never found for all these years, and you finally got it. You can't just let that go. I'm sorry, I'll trade the other material so I could get something out of it, but I just can't trade this. it's just not worth it right now.
Exactly. And they didn't bring on a rookie. They did not bring on Tank Dell. They didn't bring on anybody in that source that can play that role on the outside X receiver, 50-50 ball catcher. So I think you really can't trade Devontae Parker, unfortunately, because there's such a role for him versus I think there's some guys that could fill that role for Kendrick Bourne, software. Is there any of your thoughts on this?
I agree with both of you guys. I mean, I've been hearing a lot of rumors about KB actually being traded. Like with this being his last year on his not his rookie deal, but his contract this year, keep in mind, Bill Belichick, he loves to trade players who are on their last year of the contract. And also, he likes being able to trade for players who are on their last year of the contracts. So it would not be out of the question for me if the KB is out of the organization. Keep in mind, too, we have Trey Nixon on this team who I think he still needs to redeem himself, too. If he doesn't show anything good this year in training camp, maybe he could be a guy who's on his way out too. I don't know, because it's taken him 3 years now. This is year 3, and if he doesn't show anything, I could see him being a guy that could just like say, "Hey, you're out." Or maybe he did show a lot of promise last year, so maybe that's keeping him in the building. But I don't know. I agree with both of you guys that the rookies aren't going to be out either. Just somebody probably in third, second year going to be out now. So yeah, let's see what happens. This is going to be a very interesting battle because this depth chart of wide receivers is deeper than I think anybody's bets right now.
Yeah, no, like it's not a great wide receiver core, and I'm not gonna say it's like one of the best in the National Football League, but like if we had a number one, this would be one of the deepest. Why? Because essentially all we're missing is a true number one guy. We have a lot of number twos, a lot of number threes, a lot of number fours, and some developmental pieces. It's just that number one true guy that we're missing. As for like a Trey Nixon, I don't even put him in the category at this point. I think he's done. I think he's going to end up getting released. His best case scenario is back on the practice squad, but I think that him getting back on the practice squad is just for a veteran who knows the system at this point. It's not for a guy who they're trying to look to continue to develop, because I just don't think there's anything left to develop. I think you've seen what you're going to see from Trey Nixon at this point. So I think you're looking at your main guys. I think you're looking at Juju Smith-Schuster. I think you're looking at Kendrick Bourne. You're looking at Demario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte. Those are essentially the guys you're looking at. Like I said, I don't think that they should cut Bourne. I don't think that they should trade Bourne, but I think if those rookies do step up, that there is a true world. Now, we do have another donation here from Trey. He says, I might have phrased my first comment wrong. I mean, as long as we keep Bourne and Douglas, it doesn't matter what receiver we get rid of. Yeah, I think there's a lot of promise with both of those guys, and both can be very splashy. See, I just look at it as you're not going to get rid of Juju, clearly. You're not going to get rid of Devontae Parker because you don't have that 50-50 outside X ball catcher.
Nope.
So it's kind of just like, at that point, who are you really going to get rid of? If you really want to get rid of somebody, it's going to be KB. Now, KB's value isn't as high as it once was because he's another year older. It's another year off the contract. He's in a rookie year. So you're not going to get a whole lot for him. You'll probably get maybe a fourth round pick for him, because I know the demand is still high and it's still on a good price, but don't expect like a second or third at that point. But big shout out to Trey for both of his donations, a $10 and a $5. My boy, shout out to him. But I do want to talk a little bit about OTAs. There's not a whole lot to kind of talk about just yet, just because there's not a whole lot happening. Once media news comes out, once the media actually attends, which is Thursday. Thursday's our first day that the media will able to attend. We'll get some news. And like I said, I'll have you guys recapped for our first day of OTAs. So just make sure you guys do like this video and subscribe to the channel so that you guys do get notified also by hitting that bell notification of when that video does come out. But a little bit of news has still prevailed, and I kind of want to give you guys a little bit of a what to expect type of inside look. So just want to start off by saying OTAs, organized team activities. This is basically your first step of the off-season process, right? This is where you're kind of getting into the conditioning. You're starting to kind of walk through plays. You're starting to kind of pass the ball a little bit, but these are not a whole lot to look into, right? Like you look into minicamp more than you look into OTAs. You look into training camp more than you look into OTAs, right? But then when it gets to training camp, you look into training camp more than mini camp, and then you look into preseason more than you look into training camp. So it's kind of the process that goes along. So I don't want to say look into this a whole lot, but we do still get a little bit of a look. We get a little bit of kind of a usage look. But what's tough about OTAs is that they're optional, right? And so a lot of players choose not to go to these, especially veterans. So I think there's going to be some key guys ultimately that do not show up. One player that we know will not be there for OTAs is going to be Michael Onwenu. Now, Michael Onwenu is in contract year. Supposedly, this has nothing to do with the contract. It has to do with the fact that he actually got surgery. He got injured that final game against the Bills, ended up getting injured, and it required surgery. So supposedly, this isn't a contract dispute, and it's all about his injury, but you never know. But at the end of the day, Michael Onwenu will not be there, which I'm kind of okay with just because he's in contract year. You drafted 3 interior offensive linemen. We need to see what some of these other interior offensive linemen have, and I think the Patriots need to see that too, because they need to know, look, is Michael Onwenu a guy that we definitely need to extend, or is this a guy where we drafted 3 interior offensive linemen, will be fine without him? So I think, him not being there for OTAs will give guys like, City Sal or Antonio Mafi some more snaps to get some looks at them. But what are you guys looking for? Is there anything specific heading into OTAs that you guys are looking here in terms of the Patriots?
I would say player-wise, White. I'm really curious of how we're gonna set the edge with this kid. This could be a year that we could really make this D-line ferocious with that kid. I'm very, very curious of him. The linebacker, Mapu, I'm sure he's not really looked at as much, especially when we picked him. But I like to see that kid. He's a hard-hitting dude. Keep rookies like that, and definitely Gonzalez, so #1 first-round pick, right? So I want to see how he sticks to receivers, how he plays in the position that he plays. They put him in, who he goes up against. I'll be very, very curious to see that. How do they line up Judon and Uche and White? How do they rotate them is what I really like to see. And which way do they use them? How do they go about it? Does one go back into a linebacker position while the other 2 stay on the edge, or it's just 2 and 1 sits on the bench, We're very, very curious about how they go about that. And then in terms of the offense, I'm really curious of how Bill O'Brien is going to run this, man. You got the tight ends that you need. You got the receivers they need. You got running backs. I mean, this is like 0-11, but to a different way, not to a crazy talent level, but to such a depth and so many pieces that could be very great.
Yeah, 100%. Guys, make sure you do start dropping some of your questions, okay? I know right now we're kind of talking to each other, which obviously keep doing that. Let's keep, growing the community, making your own connections. But drop some of the questions you guys have, whether that's in general about the Patriots or whether that's about Patriots OTAs. Like I said, we're kind of recapping some rumors, OTAs preview, and then the rest of this is going to be a Q&A for you guys, which we'll answer. So start dropping some of your questions here ultimately. But Software Dragon, anything you're looking kind of forward to or anything specific you're looking into with these Patriots OTAs?
I think it brings up a great point. I think the tight ends is, dude, that's going to be a really interesting spot to watch. I mean, honestly, again, bringing up 2011 when Bill O'Brien was last OC here, he ran a lot of 12 personnel. Now, the only thing that's really like worrying me about the 12 personnel sets is really health for the tight ends. I mean, Hunter Henry's very injury prone. You got Mike Gesicki. He's came off a little bit of an inconsistent year. I don't know really what both of them are going to produce this year. And plus, Hunter Henry didn't look too good last year anyway. So with the new tight ends that they brought in, I'd be very curious to see who the tight end 3 is, especially with a bit of blocking, in there too. Because honestly, I think, we really need that piece who can, block, but also maybe have a little bit of receiving threat in the passing game too. And just really, how are they going to be consistent with these tight ends too? Not just one guy producing, but a committee of guys. I think you got to keep these tight ends fresh, just as you did with running backs. And so I'd be curious to see how that pans out. And as we work our way up towards a mini camp, as for defense, I'm hearing so many things about our secondary. I mean, I've been hearing a lot like Jonathan Jones moving to safety. I've heard Jabril Peppers also moving to safety. It would be so interesting just how Bill Belichick wants to play chess instead of somebody's checkers with these DBs. They play such a vital role in our defense that honestly, it would be so important for us to play a lot of guys on the field too. Like I think with safeties coming down in the box to help out the linebackers, I say you need a lot of depth to make sure that injuries are not a concern, that you have some versatility as like what defense you're going to run, like nickel or dime packages. And I'd say that's going to be the most like important part for me to watch this off season is the safety and cornerback group for me at least.
Yeah, 100%. Kind of before we get into some of these donations and then start to get into some of the questions here. Overall, what I'm looking for is I'm going to try to keep it pretty broad. I don't want to get my hopes up about anything specific, but I just want to see what guys are playing where, right? Especially like you guys talked about, corner, safety, who's going up against the ones, who's going up against the twos, kind of some stuff like that. Mm-hmm. What I'm more excited to see is kind of these one-on-one matchups. I know we're not going to get too into 7-on-7s and 11-on-11s, but we'll get into them a little bit. But I'm really just excited to see these matchups, right? I'm excited to see these corners to these wide receivers because there's a good amount of turnover there, not necessarily in the secondary, but more so in the wide receiver room with Juju Smith-Schuster coming in, DeMario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte. You want to see how those guys are able to perform on their 1v1s, but I'm really excited to see how Christian Gonzalez does because there's a lot of questions on what that role is going to be for the Patriots year one. They obviously drafted him high, drafted him in the first. Is he going to be a guy that they asked to be that number one perimeter cornerback right away? Or is he going to be a guy that kind of takes more of a back-shirted first half of the season, right? Like, is he going to be your number two cornerback for the first half and then takes over? Is he going to be your number 2 to number 3 cornerback for the entire season? Those are the question marks that I have. So kind of seeing who he goes up against on a regular basis is going to kind of give us some intel on how the Patriots view him and just how is he doing? Because if he isn't ready, then they're not going to thrust him into that role right away, right? Because there's a lot of competition he's going to have to go up against this year, whether that's A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith week 1, whether that's going up against Devontae Adams when the Raiders come along, whether that's going up against, the Chiefs wide receivers and whatnot. There's a lot of competition that he's going to go up against. Stephon Diggs exactly twice a year. So there's some Garrett Wilson. There's some key players he has to go up against here, especially twice a year. So I'll be curious to see about that. And those are my biggest question marks. When it comes to these defensive players, whether it's Marte Mapu as a linebacker or safety, probably more of a linebacker, or even White, I'm kind of a little hesitant here in terms of OTAs just because obviously it's not very contact based, right? So a lot of times when you're rushing the passer or you're blitzing or you're a defensive lineman, a lot of times you actually have the leverage at looking better than the offensive linemen do because it's not actually going full out and not full contact. So sometimes those stats and kind of the information coming out about the defensive lineman can be a little bit inflated, but it does still give us a little bit of intel. But real quick, I do want to give a couple of shout outs to our recent donators. A $5 donation from my friend Jaden. Big shout out to you for the $5 donation. Not on here. They decided to give the full amount over on Venmo. Big shout out. Obviously, YouTube takes a certain percentage here on YouTube. They take like 60% of the revenue that is donated from you guys to the channel. Obviously, on Venmo, we get 100%. So big shout out to Jaden for that $5 donation. Looks like we also got, let me scroll down, Diehard Pats fan up in here. Diehard Pats fan back at it again with a $10 donation. Guys, we already know Diehard Pats fan donated in every single one of our chats. So massive shout out to Diehard. Diehard says, glad I made it home in time for this. Had to race through traffic and maybe push the gas on those yellow lights safely. Of course, Patriots Global is on fire this year, is going to be a changer. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that this is going to be a big year for the Patriots? It's going to be a better year than last year. They have arguably the hardest schedule. Is this going to be a better year for the Patriots or going to be a worse year? Hot take, guys. What are we thinking?
Oh, I don't know. Ray, you want to go first on this one?
I think Neil got a little scared of the question, so he.
I guess so.
I'm sorry. What did you say? I'm sorry. I got cut off there.
So do you think that despite how hard this season is for the Patriots, they were ranked somewhere between 1 to 4th hardest schedule? Depends on who you ask. NFL's ranked 4th. PFF is ranked 1st.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is going to be a game-changing year for the Patriots? Is this going to be a step forward from last year in terms of success, or is this going to be equal or take a step backwards?
I think we're gonna take a step forward. I'm looking at 10 to 11 wins, and it comes down to Bill O'Brien. If I'm sure you guys have paid attention to the news of how assertive he is and what he wants to do, and he accepting no BS. He's really not accepting no BS. I love that about this man. He got a Southern grit to him. He don't give a crap. He's gonna tell you how it is, and he's gonna lay it down. He's not having no stupid mistakes. And I think because of that, it's gonna lead our offense to a different way. Our defense really didn't have issues last year. I think we needed more fresh bodies on the D line. Linebackers will be a little bit better, but I think for what we had, we held up pretty well. To add a corner now, to add an edge guy, to add a linebacker, I mean, that already boosts up the defense. So it's more so about can the offense get it together? And I think this time they really will. You got a running back committee that's very solid. You got receivers that are very talented. Some of them already seasoned in the system. So it's like seasoned pretty well. So it's like you're good in that sense. And you have Juju, I think, with Juju and the tight ends that we have. What Bill O'Brien's going to do, and I think Mac is hungry. He is hungrier than ever to prove people wrong. And when you have that combo, a man who's this focused, and then you have a kid like Butte who doesn't even show up to that photo. He's like, nah, I got better things to do. I got to work out. I got to get my crap together. That tells you the mentality of where your quarterback is, where your rookie is, your new offensive coordinator is. From that, it really tells me this team ain't joking around this year. It's straight up business. We're going to have some fun, but we're going to really kick some ass. Ain't no joke anymore. I think we finally come back this year and prove that we are the same Patriots that we were years ago. We finally take that step forward.
Yeah, 100%. You know, software, what are you thinking? What do you think? A hard schedule. Do you think we take that step forward?
I think we will take a step forward, but I'm going to have a hot take here. You talked about hot takes. I'm going to come out here and blow a lot of you guys away. So get ready to blow up the chat and over here. You remember how the Lions were last year? How they were losing a lot of games.
They started off slow and then they came through hot towards the end. Just missed the playoffs.
And they were very competitive against very good teams. Like they were kind of terrible versus teams that were good in 2021. But last year, holy cow, man! Under their new head coach's mentality, man, they took a big step forward, especially with those growing pieces over there. I just think that this team's honestly more improved. Every team's more improved, though. We can't forget that. Every team has drastically improved from the draft, free agency, and it's just, man, I don't know. There's a lot of teams that were very complete during the offseason, and that they were just able to add luxury pieces. Like the Eagles, dude, that's going to be a tough week 1 game. I think that it's going to be a very exciting year, but maybe a lot of growing pains. We looked at 2021. It was a lot of growing pains to begin the season, but as we progressed, dude, we went on a 7-game win streak, and that's, I think, something that a lot of people forget too. Is like, man, we were good down the stretch, but just how competitive this AFC East is, I don't know. The Jets and the Patriots are so even with me for right now. I think that's going to be one of the biggest questions: is how can we compete with our own division? That is my first thing. Like, if you can win a lot of your games in the division, you got a good amount of chances to make the playoffs. But if you're really slacking to put up points on the board like we saw last year, although not very closely related to last year, because Matty P can go ahead and go fry his eggs somewhere else because I ain't having him in my dorm room with me.
100%. Week 1, the Matty P revenge game. Now, we do have another donation here, but before we get into that, I want to give a massive shout out to the sponsors of this channel. Yes, you heard that right. The sponsors of this channel over at FanDuel, guys. Right now, make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs. Celtics, unfortunately, are disappointing us, but at the end of the day, NBA playoffs, they're still fun, and it's a great way for you to have some fun and still make some money because right now, new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That is $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win, guys. The best thing about FanDuel, at least in my opinion, is the fact that it's so safe, right? Whether you are using their secured app on your phone or you're using their website, it's something that you can be confident and sure that is safe. Whether it's your money or your bank account, you don't got to worry about hackers getting your money or you losing your money or getting scammed in any way, shape, or form. Other thing that I love about FanDuel is that if you actually do win your bet, you get paid out as soon as your bet is won. Best thing about them. You don't got to wait a few days, a few hours, or a few weeks. You get it instantaneously. And they also have new ways every single day for you to make easy money, right? New promotions every single day. Just go back and check in their promotion section in order to make some easy money, guys. There is no better place to bet on all of the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/Boston. Get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That is FanDuel.com/Boston. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA, guys. Little disclaimer, make sure you're 21. You got to be 21 in order to bet, especially in your state. So make sure that you are 21 and that your state does allow betting. First online real money wager only of a $10 deposit is required. Refunds are issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bet that does expire after 14 days. If you or somebody you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. But real quick, let's get back here as I put us back here on the screen. There we go. Want to give a shout out here to Trey, right? Trey gives us another donation, and he hits on something that I think is a real concern, and it's probably the biggest concern. And guys, I made a video all about this. So Trey, thank you for giving me an in to plug that video. Guys, on my channel right now, go ahead, check it out. How I think the New England Patriots offense will determine our entire success for the 2023 season. It's not just the defense. It's not just the offense. It's not just Bill O'Brien and the coaching. The offensive line will determine how good the Patriots are and how successful we are in 2023. But not just this team. They will determine how successful Mac Jones is with the New England Patriots. So go check out that video overall. There's a lot of really great statistics in there that are going to blow you away that backed up kind of my theory on that. I'm not just kind of throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks. Backed up a lot of statistics there. So go check out that video after the live stream. But Trey with a $10 donation, my man says, is anyone else concerned about offensive tackle? Calvin Anderson couldn't start for the worst offensive line last year in the Broncos, and Riley Reif was part of the bottom 5 offensive line with the Bears. Not a big upgrade over win. So I'll start with this one. I definitely have my concerns. I'm not concerned at all with the interior of the offensive line. I think, David Andrews is great. Yeah, he's coming down to the wire. He deals with some injury histories and some injury problems, but he finally got some depth behind him. I think he's going to continue to be a great leader and just a great overall center and interior offensive line piece for the Patriots. Whether we're talking about Mike Onwenu at right guard and Cole Strange, who I think will take a much needed step forward this upcoming year in his second year. We already have pieces behind those guys too, right? We obviously got Jake Andrews. We got Sidy Sow. We got Antonio Mafi. And Sidy Sow and Antonio Mafi are both guys that I really, really like and am very, very high on. So I'm really not concerned about the interior at all. It's the tackles that do build concern. And unfortunately, our issue last year was with tackle. And what did we do to essentially build upon that issue? We didn't do much. We brought in a guy that was a UDFA for us a few years ago. He lasted a few months before we cut him. Then he goes over to a couple of different teams, most recently lands with the Broncos. He started, I believe, 12 games over his entire career, and 7 of those came this past year from the Broncos. Now, he's a guy that has some versatility on the right side and the left side. I think that's something that the Patriots are going to love. I think they can get the best out of him at the end of the day. I think that he'll be all right. I don't think he's great. He's not a guy that I want to be starting, but if he is a depth piece and maybe a swing tackle, then I love it. But then you're talking about Riley Reiff here, right? And Riley Reiff is going to be your starter. You look at the money, you look at the lack of moves they made at tackle. He's going to be your starter at right tackle. Trent Brown's at left. You should not want Trent Brown to move over to right tackle. Let me just get that straight. Anybody saying that we should trade Trent Brown or that he's on the hot seat or that he should be moved to right tackle, I don't know what you're talking about, because that is just going to mess this offensive line up more. Trent Brown is our only poised veteran at this point that I feel like we can pretty much rely on, other than Michael Onwenu, who's going to play guard, and David Andrews, who's going to be at center. When it comes to tackle, that is your best tackle. That is your leader. That is your veteran. You do not want him being on the right side, right? Because the left side is your blind side. That is the toughest position to play on the offensive line. You want a poised veteran in there who is easily the most talented out of Riley Reiff and Calvin Anderson. Have him play the hardest position, right? Don't throw him over to the right side and say, well, let's just totally throw the left side of the offensive line just out the door and let whoever's on that side just absolutely dominate Mac Jones the entire game. That's not a smart move, right? Put Trent at the left side and then put Riley Reiff on the right side. Honestly, I could see them even potentially rotating guys at right tackle, whether that's Connor McDermott, who I think actually did pretty well for them over the course of the second half of the season when he was brought in pretty much unexpectedly around November. Maybe Calvin Anderson, but I just think that right side at right tackle could be a multitude of different people, but it's going to start with Riley Reiff. But I think there's real concern there. People are going to say, well, Patriots Global, what do you mean we didn't get a tackle? We got City Sow. They will try City Sow at tackle. When they drafted him, my first thought was, oh, this dude's like 6'5", 300 some pounds. Like, they're going to try him at tackle. News comes out a few days after they draft him that they will. But don't think that he is going to be your next franchise tackle. If he can, that's great. But at the end of the day, you're asking him to play left tackle, which is the position he has experience at, but only a little bit, and essentially has only played a couple snaps in college. Most of it came in high school. So even when you look at the tape he played at tackle, it was subpar. It was not great. Now you're asking him to play that position again, which he hasn't played in years, and do it at the NFL level. It's going to be very, very difficult for him to do. So I think people are penciling him in as our next, franchise tackle way, way, way too soon. Yes. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
You can't put that rookie in as a left tackle this early. He's a rookie. I mean, they'll probably give him a little shot down the road as a rotator piece, or somebody's hurt or injured, or like they need a rest. They'll probably put him in, try him out. He's just a big dude. We ain't gonna deny that. They gotta test it out, see what this big man can do. But definitely, I say, yeah, you gotta keep Trent at left tackle. Oh hell no, I'm not moving that dude away from there. Yeah. Or else we're screwed. Mac is screwed. He's gonna get hurt, and we're in for a dilemma. The right tackle, you got to keep Reiff because he has experience. I mean, he was decent with the Bears. Sure, he's not the Reiff that we knew years ago, but so has decent amount of experience. So you can handle the right and you can mix it in with some other people. The rookie is going to take time, man. The interior is very solid, extremely solid. So we're fine there.
Yeah, 100% software. What do you think?
Starters, I'm not really concerned too much. I mean, health is a concern for all these guys, really. But, man, oh, man. When I tell you, depth really concerns me for this offensive tackle spot. I mean, who's going to be replacing Trent Brown if he gets injured? For crying out sakes, dude. Like, we have, nobody who can really be dependable as far as like experience goes in the system. I mean, Calvin Anderson maybe can replace him, but like you said, PG, he's not going to be your, starter for like 8 weeks if, Trent Brown goes down with a serious injury. Maybe the idea is, and this could mess up continuity, but just maybe, you have a rookie start at right guard, you move on when you have to tackle, and then you move Reiff to left tackle behind Brown. I mean, dude, I don't know. Like what you talked about earlier, there's so many things that we need to answer as a part of like who's going to play where. We got so much versatility. That's great, but oh my gosh, it creates such a big like hole as to like question what are you going to do with all these guys, And so it'd be an interesting thing, but I don't know, knowing Bill Belichick and the way that he handled this offseason, I'm kind of disappointed in the way that he handled the offensive line. He usually comes out and really hits the hammer on like, damn, we struggled in that spot. We gotta fix this area so fast and really put some pieces behind our veteran guys in case they do go down. And we just didn't do that, to be honest with you. We got a little bit of guys, but still we're treating the same symptom, which is guys are just keep on having injury history. And that just completely discourages me as to like how I feel about this offensive line. And if they can get better at that, maybe conditioning helps a little bit, but I don't know. It's still a big issue for me.
Yeah, no, software. I think software. You hit on an excellent point here, and that's just the fact that Bill Belichick. What does he do every time that there is a glaring issue? He goes into the offseason and he addresses it, sometimes even more than he needs to. And if you're an outsider to the Patriots organization and what we do, you would have thought that the interior of the Patriots offensive line was the thing that had problems and that they have elite tackles, because I thought the Patriots were going to pick up 2 tackles, one to start early on within the first 3 rounds and then one in the later rounds for them to have a backup developmental piece, and they did neither. You can say maybe City Sal, but we don't know what he's going to do. We're just projecting right now. We don't even see what he's going to do with the Patriots. The Patriots haven't even said necessarily how they view him. They said they're going to try him at tackle, but they didn't necessarily say how they view him. So they really didn't draft any tackle after all the issues that happened with what last year? Tackle. Was the interior of the offensive line great? No. Is the future of the interior offensive line in question? It was before we addressed it in the draft. But tackle right now and tackle in the future is still a massive concern for the Patriots. And, even if the Patriots didn't like the offensive tackle class in this draft, okay, then you should have known that. You should have done a better job with your scouting, and you should have either went and traded for a guy, because there were a lot of good offensive tackles getting traded this offseason around the start of the new league year in free agency, or you should have picked one up in free agency. You did neither of those, which made us all think that you were going to actually address it in the draft, and then you don't address it in the draft at all from rounds 1 to 7. You don't even do it in UDFAs. So I think that there's some genuine concern, and there is a reason for Patriots fans to be frustrated with how it's going to be, because at the end of the day, Mac Jones, and this is the one knock that I will say on Mac Jones, he's not good under pressure. He doesn't perform well under pressure, and he needs to learn how to do better under pressure. But his statistics under pressure versus his statistics when in a clean pocket are completely different. He is the 5th highest graded quarterback when he's kept in a clean pocket. That says something. So if our offense is going to take a step forward, it doesn't just start with a new offensive coordinator. It starts with actually protecting your dang quarterback. And I have genuine concerns, because edge rushers these days are just getting scarier. And the Patriots don't seem to really be rolling with those times right now. But speaking. Oh wait, hold up, Neil Ray. Actually, do you have any questions, or excuse me, any comments on this before we end off?
So that his history is smart at picking linemen, bro. And especially when it comes to linemen, he knows he has to replace the trenches. He knows that's the way everything starts. That's why he values guys like Andrews. So much he values him, and it just shocks me. It's like, bro, wait. We didn't trade for a guy. Fine, cool. I thought he was going to get 2 guys in the draft, just like you said, PG. All right, we didn't get one. Can you please give me at least one dude? You didn't get 2. Give me at least one dude. No, he didn't even do that, and that just really threw me off from Belichick. It's like, bro, we're not even looking like the guard that you drafted to potentially become a tackle. Let's be honest here. You're not even looking at that, realistically speaking, for the most part. And it's like, but then you're not gonna draft that. That just throws you off. Like, aren't you gonna try to protect your quarterback, bro? Like, how long do we got with Trent? Why are we doing this? It's the biggest thing that threw me for a loop of him just not getting an O tackle in the first 3-4 rounds. I was just looking. I was like, what is running through your head that you never wanted to choose an O tackle, and it was such a glaring need? It's like, we've been through situations like this. We had Other things are glaring needs that they get addressed by the second or third round.
Yeah.
But I've seen time and time again with Belichick, especially with the tackles. If there's a glaring need for tackles, you'll do it. We did it last year. We did it last year with our guard, right?
Yeah.
So
100%.
it's like we'll do it.
Yeah. And so I feel like that kind of mixes in a little bit with a question that Ashley just asked us. And I think this is a question that a lot of Patriots fans have. And maybe it's something ultimately I got to make a video about because I feel like there's a lot of question marks about Bill O'Brien still. So Ashley says, any optimism about Bill O'Brien? And here's what I'll say. Bill O'Brien is going to turn this offense around. And I'll start off by saying is a little bit of maybe of a hot take because maybe this will upset some of the people in the chat, but Mac Jones is going to perform as a fringe top 10 quarterback easily in my mind. Bill O'Brien's here. I think he's going to be a better offensive coordinator than Josh McDaniels was. He's going to show something new to this offense than Josh McDaniels was able to do. And I have such faith in his ability with Mac Jones. So I'm actually really excited for what Bill O'Brien's going to bring. But what I will say is way too many people are putting a lot of pressure on Bill O'Brien. And I think we brought in Bill O'Brien and everybody said, oh my gosh, all our fears are gone. Our inability to develop and draft a wide receiver is gone. So everybody's excuse for taking a wide receiver with the 14th overall pick was, we have Bill O'Brien now. Okay, well, that's great. Bill O'Brien was here years ago for several years as a quarterbacks coach, wide receiver coach, offensive coordinator. And we still weren't able to develop a wide receiver. But yeah, now that he's back, something's going to magically click where we can just suddenly be the Steelers and develop any wide receiver that comes in. And you even look at the offensive line issues, and everyone's like, well, we have Bill O'Brien, guys. It's okay that we don't have any actual tackles to protect Mac Jones. Bill O'Brien's here now. So I think some people are way too caught up in us having a true offensive coordinator that it's going to solve every problem we have. And don't put all that pressure on Bill O'Brien. Like, he's going to bring some new plays to the offense. He's going to put Mac Jones in the right system and the right position to finally succeed. And he's going to put Mac Jones in a position that plays to his strengths rather than doing what Bill Belichick and Matt Patricia and Joe Judge did last year, which did the exact opposite and threw his strengths out the window and just played to Mac Jones' weaknesses. Like, Bill O'Brien's not going to do that. And I think what he's going to do is he has a little bit of familiarity with Mac Jones. He's going to come in and he's going to marry new Alabama, because we're just their offensive coordinator, an Alabama offensive scheme with an old New England Patriots offensive scheme and kind of marry those two concepts together. And I think that's what's going to get this offense back on track. But if you think that this is going to be like it was in the Brady era, like, let's calm down. Like, that's not what this is going to be. We're still going to rely on the run game, but this is still going to be a drastically improved offense. But at the end of the day, we were one of the last ranked offenses last year. Like, no duh, it's going to get a lot better, but let's just kind of tame some of those expectations before we start thinking that we're about to become the Philadelphia Eagles offense or the Kansas City Chiefs offense or the Buffalo Bills offense. Like, maybe we calm down a little bit, but I do think that the Patriots will have a back-end top 10 offense to a fringe top 10 offense this upcoming season. Any of your thoughts here, guys, on Bill O'Brien?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's gonna do great for the offense, but he ain't no miracle player with the O-line. Like, let's just be honest. If there's a position that's needed, he can't just ask him to be Jesus. I mean, he's gonna do very well with the talent, the receiver, and the running backs and the tight ends. But you can't just expect him or Clem together and be like, hey, we're gonna magically get the O-line, or we'll get a guard to make a tackle, we'll get Trent Brown to be healthy for the whole year. We'd be all fine. Yeah, just don't think it ever works out like that usually with us or anyone. So that perspective, it's going a little too overboard, but optimistic in terms of how he's going to turn the offensive game plan around, how he's going to use the receivers and everyone else. But with that, PJ, I appreciate you letting me on. It's good to see you again, both of you. I gotta head out, man. Thank you so much, man. Take care.
Yes, sir, Neil. We appreciate it.
Sir.
Thank you.
Take care.
So before we do kind of wrap up today's live stream, we do have another donation here from Trey. You know what? Now that there's actually two of us, before I do that, I can actually switch up the graphic a little bit here, make it a little bit more clean. There we go.
There we go.
Where did the donation just go? Hold up. Let me just go here. Okay. So Trey is popping out with another donation, a $5 donation. Trey is killing the game today.
Go, Trey.
Everybody is optimistic about Bill O'Brien. Ashley, Edward is in the chat. Edward in the chat just being estupido and trying to tell us otherwise. I don't know what's going on in the chat because obviously I'm not really focused other than the super chats that are coming in. But at the end of the day, yeah, like I do think Bill O'Brien is going to drastically improve this offense. I think it's going to be better than what we saw the back end of Josh McDaniels. I think it's going to be 100 times better than what we saw last year. But I think some Patriots fans need to tame expectations because you're asking him to come in and essentially fix all the problems and any deficiency the Patriots have had over the last 2 decades. Like, let's not act like we have no quarterback and Tom Brady's coming into the fold. Like this isn't a 2021 Bucs situation. Like that's or 2021 Bucs situation. So that's not what this is. Bill O'Brien was here before. And again, we still had issues developing wide receivers and whatnot. So I do think it's going to be a lot better. I think they did one of the most important things this offseason, and they addressed not the personnel, but they actually addressed the coaching staff. I think that was super important. You get a new offensive line coach, which I'll be very interested to see how Adrian Clem is ultimately able to do. Obviously knows the system very well, which I do think helps. You get a new offensive coordinator. I think a lot of the issues with the Patriots offense comes down to coaching, and we finally got some coaching in the building to be able to help that out. So I'm very, very excited about that. Any kind of last thoughts here for you, Software?
What I like about Bill O'Brien is that he's going to mix it up. Like you said, and Nero said that he's going to put this offense in the best position. I do wonder though, do we ever really go back to a quick passing attack type of offense? Because with the offensive issues that we have at tackle, I just keep on remembering like when we had Brady at the helm, we were throwing passes like right and left, to quick passing schemes, and that kind of eliminated a lot of deficiencies with that offensive line positions. And so maybe to help out the offense a little bit, we could add a little bit more like quick passing with slants and post ins, short game, and not so much like just if we're doing throw a lot of these quick screen games. I'm sorry, I'm going to say this year is going to go really poorly for us. We keep on running screens, but I don't know, like just what you said. I think with how Matt Jones is coming from Alabama, part of me also wonders how are they going to mix in play action into this offense, and who's going to be running down the seam to deep half of the field. Is that going to be Tyquan Thornton who takes that role? I don't know. I think that they need to implement a lot of explosive plays this year to try it. But again, the offensive line is going to be the deciding factor to whatever they do on offense. It's just, again, do not put too much pressure on Bill O'Brien. He is not the guy that fits everything and every single thing. But if he can get some penalties under control, we're talking now. We're going to be competitive for this year. 100%.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with you too. And I think one of my biggest questions too, which I'm excited for, that we're not going to figure it out in OTAs, but like throughout the offseason program and minicamp and training camp, we'll figure it out. But that's how are they going to use Tyquan Thornton? Because last year he was a perimeter speedster wide receiver. Are they, and we talked about before getting Juju, is this somebody now you put more in the slot? Is that something that they kind of transition from slot to perimeter? I think ultimately, from what we've seen from the Patriots in the past, they always have their speedsters playing at that X position, or not that X position, but an outside perimeter wide receiver to kind of just stretch the field, make the defense respect them. Usually they're using that speed. Usually it's just, 8 out of 10 times it's run a go route, just run straight down the field and make a defense respect us. If it's blown coverage, we'll throw the ball up to him. We get a massive play. And you hope that they can get more out of him than that ultimately, because I do think he's good in the short to intermediate route too. But I'll be curious to see if they do try him more in the slot. But my prediction is that they'll use him still in that Brandon Cooks, Nelson Aguilar, Philip Dorsett type of role where he's mainly playing on the outside with that speed in order to make a defense respect us over the top. But I think one of the great things about Bill O'Brien is that he's going to, like I say, work towards Mac Jones' strengths. Now, Mac Jones very good down the field. believe it or not, like he was one of the best downfield quarterbacks in terms of explosive plays and accuracy in the entire National Football League, believe it or not, which is very surprising.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily his game. And I think that's why we saw so many interceptions this past year. If let's take some shots downfield. I think that was an issue in 2021 was that we didn't take enough shots down the field. Now I think this past year we were trying too many shots down the field and not working with Mac Jones' strengths. Let's still marry trying to take some shots down the field, but still working in that short to intermediate route that Mac Jones is so good at. And let's work with our receivers that can build after the catch. The Patriots were one of the worst teams in terms of yards after the catch offensively this past year. You get Juju Smith-Schuster, which is a massive, massive upgrade in terms of Jacoby Myers in yards after the catch. You have Kendrick Bourne, who's very, very, very good and very underutilized in this system in terms of yards after the catch. Let's get those guys into space, get them some blocks, and work in that yards after the catch mentality because, even if Mac Jones is only throwing a 5-7 yard pass to one of those guys, block it up right, get them into the right position, and you're taking that 5-7 yard pass and making it a 15-20 yard pickup. Those splash plays that people are asking for do not need to be Mac Jones throwing the ball third on the field. He can throw the ball 7-10 yards down the field and as a short to intermediate route pass, but still get an explosive play because these guys get it blocked up right and can actually run and make something work with the ball in their hands after the catch. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. But guys, we're going to end today's live stream here. I want to appreciate and thank everybody that came into today's live stream, and especially everybody that donated to and went that extra mile. It means so much to me, and it really, really helps the channel out in actually being able to do more things and make this a full-time job and give you guys some more content. So there's some things in the works I'm really excited for, but guys, stay tuned with me. A lot of great stuff coming. I got a UDFA video coming either late tonight or probably around 1 tomorrow. So you guys can look forward to that. Software, I appreciate you for coming on. But without further ado, guys, like always, make sure to like this video real quick on your way out. But never forget, go Pats.
Go Pats.